First of all, thank you everyone for signing up and registering. When we first started and had this idea, my goal was to have a meeting with hopefully 50 people in it. And I had to close the registration at 270. So we've had a lot of people showing interest in this, which is awesome. So again, thanks to everyone for showing up and taking the time out of your day to go to this presentation. So we're going to get started. Probably will be about a 25 to 30-minute presentation showing you everything. And then at the end, we're going to be doing some questions. So we'll get started here. Introduction. My name is Zach McCurdy. You have probably seen my name in a lot of emails. You've probably seen my face during your wonderful accessibility training video. And I am the one who you're seeing and talking to right now. So I am the digital content manager for the web team here at Grand Valley. The entire web team is here in the chat, so say hi to them. They are going to be helping with questions and answers. So if you do have any questions while we're here, please ask in the chat. They will be the ones to help out so that I can keep the presentation moving and they'll be assisting. So they are wonderful people. Most of them are, I should say. I'll let you guess which one's not wonderful. But anyway, if you have any questions, the chat will be the best place for that. At the end of the presentation, I will be sending out a follow-up email, and in that email, I'll have the recording of this. So don't need to worry about it. If you didn't catch something or you missed something, I'll put it on a website so that you can go back and watch it again. So we'll get started. On the agenda for today, we're going to talk a little bit about the little history of the CMS. So just to kind of look at where we are and where we have been and where we're going. So talk about the development schedule, some fine print. We're going to be showing the actual CMS 5 and talking about some updates and some questions. And if you can't tell, you're going to see a lot of familiar, friendly faces here. So let's get started. So some agenda, some fun stuff for you about the CMS, just some facts for you, just in case you don't know. And if you have any guesses, feel free to put them in the chat. But how many websites do you think are in the CMS? How many pages do you think are in the CMS? And how many people do you think actually use the CMS? So you may have a number in mind. So it's always fun to hear what people think, but I will show you the answer here in just a moment. It's more than 7, I promise. So here we go. I'll show you the answers here in just 3, 2, 1. I'm getting some answers. Hundreds, 200s, 11. Thanks, Matt. Appreciate that. 12, million, 400. Yeah, very accurate, all of you. In actuality, we have 707 websites in the CMS currently. Within the 707 websites, we've got 24,000 pages of content, and there are over 2,153 active users in the CMS. So when we're talking about the CMS, we're talking about what we're changing. You can see it's quite a big system, a lot of moving parts for this. So that is some fun information about the CMS, just so you're aware of that. I also want to talk a little bit about what we've been doing and some of the stuff that we've been working on. And so in the past year or so, you may have been noticing that you get quite a few emails that talk about broken links. They look like what I'm showing on the screen here. The point of this is that we wanted to make sure that people were keeping their content up to date. We want people to keep our websites modern. We don't want stale material out there. So what we've done is we created a process that will scan your website for broken links, and then it will shoot you an email whenever a broken link is found. So you probably have seen these messages if you're an administrator, and you probably wonder, why am I getting that? So I want to just show you a little bit of a stat here of this shows the number of websites that were updated per year dating back to 2014. And so you can see in 2020, there were 35 websites that had updates out of however many hundreds at the time, went down to 26, up to 71. So we had a lot of websites, but not a lot of content was being updated until we put these messages out for broken links. So starting with the broken links being sent out and notifications for those, starting in 2023, when those went out, our numbers went from 71 websites being updated to 501. So those messages that we're sending for the broken links are being received. And the fact that you are updating your content on your website to make sure those are accurate is very, very appreciated and should be something that should continue going forward. So just wanted to highlight that those messages that are coming in are beneficial, and they are helping the web presence here at Grand Valley. So a little bit about the CMS5 and where we've been and where we're going with it. You can see I've broken it down into 4 different stages: research, development, testing, and production. Years ago, we started the research of what programming language we should write the CMS5 in. And so that's been years worth of discussion. Once we finally made the decision that we're going to write this in PHP, okay, now we need to start developing it. We needed to work with the IT group to make sure servers were working. We've got a test environment, and now we can deploy the code, that sort of stuff. So where are we along this process in terms of currently? We're right about there. So we're at the point now where we have developed it. We've got test servers. We've got the code out there. We're starting to create stuff, but we're at the point where we need some testing done and some feedback. So that is part of this whole process, and part of the reason why you are here today is to see this, and hopefully we can get some testing done for feedback for us in terms of creating a better CMS. So I want to just mention some fine print before showing this off and just doing a lot of the demonstration. What you see on the screen here, it's not final. It could change. That being said, it's not going to change drastically. You may see different colors, different layouts, that sort of thing. But what you see here, if it changes a little bit, that is part of the process. One of the things you're going to hear me say very often during this presentation is that the core experience of the CMS will not be changing. I'm going to be saying a lot during this presentation, just like the CMS4, you do that in the CMS5. So if you are concerned at all about, I don't want to learn something new, I don't have the time to learn something new, you can go to bed tonight, put your head down on your pillow and rest easy, because the upgrade to the CMS5 from the CMS4 is not that drastic. So the comparison and the analogy I use of that is, if you had an iPhone 7 that you've been using for years, it's old and it's got a crack in the screen, the battery lasts about an hour before you have to charge it, and then you decide you're going to upgrade to the newest iPhone 15. You've already learned how to use the iPhone, right? From the iPhone 7. You don't have to relearn how to use it from the iPhone 15. You're essentially getting a bigger, better, brighter, faster, with more features with the iPhone 15. So think of that with the CMS4 going to the CMS5. You're not going to have to relearn how to use the CMS. You're just going to have new features that are going to be bigger, better, and faster. So basically, the CMS4 is the iPhone 7. The CMS5 is the iPhone 15. So just wanted to lay those out just in case you had any questions. Josh Isaac, who's our AVP of Web Development and Content Strategy, said it best while we were developing this. The CMS5 is an evolution. It is not a revolution. So you should be comfortable in knowing that you don't have to relearn the system. You're just seeing the updates to it. So some of the things I want to talk about in particular with the CMS5 is the modules. If you've used modules in the CMS4 before, this will be familiar. We are introducing a new module called the Posts module. And what the Posts module is it's going to combine the news, the blog, and the Spotlights module into one. So in the previous iteration of the CMS, you would have to install each one of those modules in order to use it, when in reality, they were all kind of doing the same thing. One of the big advantages of the Posts module, which I will demonstrate here in a second, is the ability to add pictures, videos, and embed things within the posts. So the posts in the Posts module essentially become their own content item, so that you can add the things you would on a normal CMS page. just within the module. So I will demonstrate that here, excuse me, in just a second, but just want to talk a little bit about with the modules and what's one of the changes you'll see. So while you're all here, let's get to the demo. Let me open up my browser and show you. Here it is. This is the CMS 5. It looks very similar to the CMS 4. It's got maybe some different colors, different look and feel, but the functionality of it is exactly the same. Currently, you can see we've got a couple websites in there from the administrative point of view. The one I'm going to be working in today is the Welcome to the CMS 5 link right there. So when you log into the CMS 5, you're still going to see all of the same options on the left-hand side. The dashboard will have things built out in here that we're still developing, trying to figure out what we want to put in here. When I click on navigation, you will see that the navigation and how navigation functions is exactly the same as you had in the CMS 4. You can click on the new navigation button. You can enter in the title for what you want the navigation to be, what content, and where you want to place it. This hasn't changed at all from the CMS 4 to the CMS 5. When I click on content, this is where you would create the pages. You will see that the content is exactly the same as you see with the CMS 4. You've still got the buttons. You've still got the previews for it. You've got edit, you've got preview, history, and delete. This hasn't changed at all either. So I'm going to come back to this in just a second. We've got the file manager. And again, this hasn't changed much either. We've still got the same process for uploading files. One change that you will see is we've moved the footer from where before it was underneath the more features. We've moved it to the actual main line of items over here. And with the footer, you're actually able to add your own content into it where you were limited before. And so if I wanted to add in, for example, you can see I've added in GVSU web team and a phone number, but let's just say I wanted to add in a URL. I can do that as well, and it'll be in the bottom of the footer. If I click on preview site, this is the site that I've created for the CMS 5. This entire site is made in the CMS 5. And I just wanted to show you, there's the footer down here at the bottom. So that's another change, or one little change with the CMS 5 is the footer. And then the headers work very, very similarly to what you had before. So not a lot of change with that. What I want to focus now is within the content. And so I'm going to be focusing on the homepage, and I'm going to be editing the homepage. So let's take a look here. So when you're in the CMS 5, you'll see here, it has a very similar layout and structure as the previous version. You can still click on the edit buttons for each of the different sections. You have the chunk buttons over here on the right-hand side. You still have headers, you have paragraphs, pictures, videos, etc. So that hasn't really changed too much. The way it functions is very similar. If I wanted to add in a header, or a heading, I should say, I click on the heading button and I can drag it to where I want it to go. I can click in there and I can type in whatever I want for a heading. So this has not changed much at all, as you see, and I can still delete it out of there. And you're able to click on it, it adds it in there. You're able to click and drag on it and put it to wherever you want. So that functionality really has not changed that much at all. There are a couple things that I really want to highlight and show that are new features to the CMS 5. One of those is you are now able to add, if I show you the demo page that we've created, you can see here we've got some links and some buttons, and there's a background image. We can now, with the CMS 5, if you were to add in, I'll remove this, if I were to add in a new row, and if I were to click on the edit button in the row, this is still laid out the same, where we've got the number of columns you can select. You can have a theme where if it stretches, if it does just the paragraph, or if it goes full or responsive, this hasn't changed either. Same with the background option or background colors, those are the same as well. But one of the new features here is you can now have a background image. So if I check in the file manager, I can choose what background image I want, and it will upload it there. And if I say save, you can see now we have a background in the row for that. Now that I have that background, I can add a paragraph to it. And if I click edit for that paragraph, let's just say we want to make this a hyperlink that says about us. I entered about us. I'm going to highlight it and make it a link. So I click on the hyperlink button. You can see that when you create a new hyperlink, the layout of this window has a little bit changed. It's a lot easier to use. So I'm going to enter in the URL. I'm just putting in a fake URL at the moment. I can then change how I want the button to look, just like we had with the previous version. So I can say I want it dark blue. I can adjust the width and adjust the size as well and say save. So now if I say save changes, you'll see we have that about us button there. I'm going to click this button here to create a couple copies of it, and I can drag that down on top of that image. So now that I've added those, I'm going to publish this page, and I'll just show you what it looks like now that we've made that adjustment. So there's our new combination of the buttons over top of the image for that particular row. So very excited for that. It's a really nice way to add some texture and some creativeness to your website that we haven't had with the CMS 4 before. The other thing I'll show you with the option of the picture here, as you can see, it's constrained to the width of the text, but you can also adjust the row to be a full background. So I'll show you what that looks like with the full background. When I change it to full background, it takes the image and moves it from edge to edge, but it keeps the buttons the same size. And then we have a third option, which is the responsive. And so if I show responsive and publish, I'll show you. So it stretches from the side to side, and it has the buttons as bigger that stretch across the side. So yeah, so you can now add pictures or an image to the row. The next thing I want to introduce is what we are calling the tabordium. And yes, we know that's not a word. The tabordion is essentially the combination of what used to be the accordion module in the CMS4 and the tab module in the CMS4. With the old version of those modules, you had to install the module, create all the content within the module itself and not within the page. So this is a big upgrade, and it's really much, much nicer. So to do a tabordion, as we're calling it, I'll delete this out of here. Over here on the right-hand side, we've got the button to add it, which is this guy here. And then if I click on edit, you can see I can add in the different type of tabordions. And so you can choose the color and what type you want it to be, accordion or tab. So let me add in a couple items for this. So we'll say option 1. And then I'll add in 3 total. Oops. And number 3. Hola. There we go. So now I'm going to hit save. You can see there's the what used to be the accordion module now is called the tabordion chunk. I'm going to publish this so you can see what it looks like on the page. And then if I refresh this, that's what we just created using the tabordion. Works just like the accordion module you had in the CMS4, but it's a lot easier to use. Now, here's another feature to it that we've added is if I'm going to clone this, and I want to show you what it looks like when you do. If I click on edit, I can choose the type from accordion to tabs. It keeps the same content, but as you can see now, when I click publish, we've got the accordion over here on the left-hand side, and over here on the right-hand side, we've got the tab accordion. So it's got the different tabs listed. So the accordion module and the tabs module are no longer going to be around, but instead we're going to have the tab accordion chunk, which will be a lot easier to use. So that's nice. The last thing I want to show you is the new posts module that we're using. Before, when you would create using the blog module or the news module or the spotlight module, you would create one of the entries, but you were really limited on what you could put in there. You could basically put copy and you could put maybe a picture, but you couldn't edit really the content within it. That has changed with the posts module. So this is an example of the posts module, and I've created a posts form introducing myself, and you can see within the post itself, you can create and edit it just like a regular content item within like a regular CMS page. So before the posts mod or the spotlights module, you couldn't do this kind of thing. You were limited to just basically copy. So let me show you an example of how the post module works. So I've already installed it, and you can see I've got a couple different posts here. So there's mine and there's a Josh. I'm going to edit mine, and you can see it's got the title summary, very similar things to what you had before in the thumbnail. But as you go to the bottom, you can see this is like a regular content item and page. So you can add in pictures, videos, essentially what you do with a regular page, you can do it here. So very, very cool. Introducing the post modules, you'll be able to do a lot more with it, and you'll be able to have a lot more creativity and customization with it. So that is the posts module. Okay, so I'm going to jump back into my presentation now. And so that was the good demo showing you what the CMS5 looks like. Let me get this full screen again. One of the other things that we are going to be doing with the CMS5 is we're going to be introducing what we call release schedules. In the past, what we have done is whenever somebody comes to me or our team and says, "Hey, we would like a feature added to the CMS," we would do it kind of ad hoc. We would say, "Okay," or "yes" or "no," and we would add it in there. But it was not very clearly communicated, and it was just it wasn't very organized. So what we're going to be doing now is we're going to be introducing these release schedules where quarterly, maybe 3 times a year, we're going to be adding new features and new things to the CMS5, and then we will relay that information to you. So things that would be like feature requests if you have an idea for a new module, or if you have something that you think would be beneficial for the rest of the university, we will then put that into a release. Other things that we're going to be doing is design elements. So we'll have, perhaps it's a different layout of the navigation items or different templates that you can use. We're going to be much more aware of those different things and releasing them in a regular schedule as opposed to just doing it as they come up. So if you think of something that you would think would be a great feature to the CMS5 and you let us know, we could build it out, and then that could be part of our release schedule. So it creates a clear expectations as far as what you're going to see, and it'll be much more improved communication on our part in terms of what is being displayed. So what about the form builder? Oh, I saw a question in there in the chat already about this. Form builder is coming soon. We are in the process of building it as we speak. So at the end and the conclusion of this demonstration, you're going to get an email from me. And in that email, I will share the recorded presentation of this. And there will be a couple different forms that we would like you to fill out if you can. One of those is going to be, do you have suggestions for the form builder? If you use the form builder and you say, boy, I really wish it had something, this is your opportunity to let us know, because we're building the form builder as we speak. So if you have any suggestions for the form builder, you're going to be receiving an email with a link to a form, I should say, that you could offer those suggestions for the form builder. Okay, so what is next in terms of the CMS 5 and what we're doing? We are going to be creating what we call a sandbox. And in this sandbox, it's going to be essentially a place where you could, if you want to, go in, play around with the CMS, the new CMS, and perhaps learn about the new features. And more importantly, give us any feedback in terms of what works and what doesn't work. There'll be a sign-up form for this in that email I send afterwards as well. I make it very clear in the sign-up form, but I also want to relay it again in this demonstration that whatever you create in the sandbox, do not have the expectation that it will be something that you will be able to publish for the public or your website to be seen. The sandbox is strictly for playing around. When you're done with it, or when we're done with the sandbox, it's going away. So nothing will be essentially saved or published from there. It's just for playing around and just for getting familiar with the system. Okay. And again, the sign up form for that will be in the follow-up email. Our plan is to start migrating sites from the CMS 4 over to the CMS 5 starting in the summer. We'll have a sign-up form for that in the follow-up email as well. The idea for migrating sites is we'll take a look and see, depending on how complex the site is, will kind of determine how we migrate it over. So plan is this summer we'll start doing some migration for people from the CMS 4 over to the CMS 5. So as we're wrapping up, some questions that I am assuming you may have or others will have is, I want to use the CMS 5. What do I do? There'll be a form in the follow-up email for that. Okay. When can I start moving my site over to the CMS 5? Again, that'll be starting in the summer. That will be in the email as well. And then the last piece of it is, how will the traffic of my website be affected if I'm in the CMS 4 versus the CMS 5? It won't be, because of people who are smarter than me who can configure things so that essentially when somebody goes to your website, there'll be something in place that basically is a traffic cop that says, go this way or go this way. The public will have no idea and no idea which is in the CMS 4 or which is in the CMS 5. Okay. So you won't have to worry about that if you have, one page on one system, one page on the other. It won't matter. That being said, thank you all for attending this demonstration. I know I've got some questions I'm going to answer here in just a second, but I want to just extend the thank you all for showing up and showing the excitement for it. When we first created this idea of doing a demo of the CMS 5, in my head, I was kind of hoping we would have 50 people show up. I see there's 205 people in this Zoom meeting right now. So thank you very, very much for your willingness to come and learn all about this. We're very excited for it. So I've got some questions over here that I need to ask. Is it possible to have a heading that is sized by chunk rather than span the entire page? I don't know if Dan or one of the guys in the web team want to bring this up, but I don't think that is something that is going to be an idea or something at the moment. It will be the heading, the header. So let me take that back. The header and the heading are two different things. Let me get into the CMS 5 here, and I can demonstrate what I'm talking about. So here's a heading 1 here. And you can also change the heading to be a full background or a responsive background as well, just like I demonstrated with the picture here. So, so if I do responsive and then hit save and then publish, once I refresh the home page, you can see now that this heading is in theory stretched across all across that. So I hope that answers your question. If it doesn't, please reach out to me and let me know. Would you be able to provide live sites that use tab accordion so we have example of ways used in a page? That's a great question. I will absolutely create demo pages and show examples and have tutorials on how to use the new features. There will be you'll have lots of opportunities to learn that. It won't be something that you'll just have to know how to do. So trust me, we will definitely have some options there for that. Next question is, when we migrate to CMS 5, will all of our users need to update training? The training itself we will do updated training to show what the CMS 5 has as far as the differences between the 4 and the 5. But once your website is migrated over to the 5, all of the people who are admins on it will be in the CMS 5. It's not possible to have some users in the 4, some users in the 5. Instead, it's the site. So it's not based off of the person, it's based off the site. Will the recording of this training be emailed to us? Yep, absolutely. I'll post it onto a page and I will send that off to everybody that you can see. Will the other features still be in the CMS 5, such as org charts directories? Yep, absolutely. We're recreating and making those as we speak. We've gone through and find some of the old modules that we don't use. Like, for example, there's like an RSS feed module that was used years and years ago that literally nobody uses anymore. So things like that, we will definitely be moving those modules over to the CMS 5. Are there any departments that you can point out that are really optimizing CMS that we could look for inspiration? That is a great question. When we start building out the CMS 5 and migrating sites over, that is hopefully part of the process, is that as it gets moved over to the CMS 5, there's also some updating and done to that site. I would absolutely be willing to showcase some of those sites as far as like, hey, this is a good example of what it's doing, and share that along. So absolutely will be something that we will demonstrate and show. This is good. Follow these for inspiration. And then lastly, it looks like, is now a good time to remove old admin users? Absolutely. It's always a good time to remove old admin users. Just as an FYI, is from a security measure, if a person has left the university, they can't access the CMS. Those permissions are cut off basically when they leave. But if a person is still at the university and they have access, they could go into the old sites. But if you are willing to go in and clean up your admins, that is always encouraged, always something I would say is a great idea. So, that being said, I'm going to stop sharing my screen here and jump over to the camera and just say thank you all for attending. If you do have any questions or if you have any follow-up that you need any more clarification with, please shoot an email to me and let me know. We are more than happy to help you out and get you going in the right direction. So with that being said, thank you all. Thanks to the web team for helping out with the questions and fielding those. That makes my presentation a lot easier to deal with. So thank you, web team. You guys rock. Thanks to everyone for showing up. And any questions, comments, concerns, if you want to see more pet pictures, if you want to know anything more about the CMS, about me, about literally anything, shoot me an email. I'm more than happy to start that conversation and help you out with that. So that being said, thanks everyone for showing up. And if you need anything, just feel free to reach out to me, and enjoy the rest of the day. And thanks everyone. Have a great day.